Hello, everybody. My name is Aldo, and I'm going to present my Capstone project called Oceanic Manta Ray Conservation through Participatory Dynamic Coastal Management in Bahía de Banderas, Mexico. And first, I want to ask you, what do you think when you hear giant manta ray? Because most of us ocean lovers think about this, a huge animal that resembles a flying saucer, making no sound at all and swimming gracefully over you. But for people in Bahía de Banderas, where I work, what they think about mantas is kind of like this, a giant monster that hits boats, steals nets, and creates a mess when they are fishing. And I work in a big bay. We have a big underwater canyon in the southern part, and you can see the different colors. The darker the color, the deeper the canyon goes. It goes up to 2 kilometers, and this bay is located in the Mexican Central Pacific. And the manta rays are the oceanic manta rays are the biggest manta rays in the world. They can measure up to 7 meters from tip to tip. And they have a late sexual maturity up to 10 years, a slow gestation of 12 months to have just one single pup. They can live more than 28 years, but we don't know exactly how long they can live. And they can be found in all the tropical oceans, but they have particular hotspots around the world. These hotspots are affected by direct and indirect fishing. And that's why the IUCN declared the species as endangered. In Mexico, it's protected by 2 official laws, but these laws are not well regulated and are not well enforced in the area. So what we are seeing in Bahía de Banderas, it's a lot of mantas harmed by fishing activities and by boat strikes. The top photos, you can see a manta with a fishing line entangled. In the right photo, you can see a manta with a boat strike on one of the pectoral fins. And the mantas in the lower photos are dead mantas. One was found underwater, and the other one was dragged to the beach by an angry fisher folk. And that's why we decided to work with them and to create an alliance with fisher folks and boat captains to learn a little bit more about the economic activities of people and also about the mantas. So the project goal is create data-driven guidelines between fisher folks, water taxi captains, and scientists. And these guidelines or this action plan is divided in several steps. And in my capstone, I will tell you a little bit about how we assess the interaction between mantas and people, how we identify the hotspots of mantas, the hotspots of fishing, and the hotspots of high-speed traffic, and how we are trying to engage the fisher folks and the boat captains to create guidelines between everyone. To assess the interactions, we are joined by the fisher folks and some local kids from the community and students from the local university to look for mantas. And they are really good looking for mantas. They see this black spot swimming on the surface with 2 big fins coming out of the water. And just as we see this, we jump in the water and take some photos of the ventral pattern on their belly, because each manta has a different ventral spot pattern that works as a digital finger, so we can know how many mantas we are seeing. We are also recording the injuries, and we are looking for different kind of injuries, like the manta to the left is a manta that doesn't have the cephalic fin, the right cephalic fin. And the photo to the right is a manta with a big boat strike on the dorsal area. And we are also taking samples of the dead mantas that we see. And that's why we started working with the fisher folks and boat captains. In this occasion, we started talking with the people around this manta. and we devise a strategy with them. So now they are our main collaborators. This is a boat that uses gill nets to fish, long gill nets that are the main source of injuries to the mantas in Bahía de Banderas. This boat is being there, it's being installed a GPS tracker. So now we are tracking their movements, and we are trying to understand where are they fishing and how we can change this fishing pattern to promote manta conservation, but also for them to keep fishing and getting the same amount of fish as now. We are also asking them their perception, their fears, the possibilities of a management plan and what they think about it, to also consider this in future meetings with them. So we are identifying hotspots. This is the manta presence through the year. In the left panel, you see Bahía de Banderas in the cold season. The cold season is from January to June. You can see that the mantas are spread all over the bay. You can find them in the north, in the center, and the south. But in the warm season, that is from July to December, the mantas tend to be closer to the southern part of the coast. So this is giving us valuable information to share with the fisher folks and to devise better guidelines to protect the mantas. We are also seeing that the manta seasonality is mainly on the cool season. We see a lot of mantas. This is a graph made with data since 2019 until now, and it's all the mantas that we are recorded in the cold season and in the warm season. But the important thing here is that in the warm season, we are still seeing mantas. So there are mantas that stay in the bay for the whole year. And this is very important because if we want to devise protection guidelines, we need to consider the mantas that are staying here all the time. We are also identifying the hotspots of high-speed traffic. In the panel to the left, it's all the data of the traffic aggregated on top of it. And in the panel to the right, it's just the data of the boats that goes over 45 kilometers per hour. That is a speed that is it becomes dangerous to transit. They can hit turtles, mantas, whales. And the main idea here is that the two shapes are identical. So we have high-speed traffic in areas where it's supposed to be more like more normal traffic. So in general, this image is giving us like a pattern of where we need to address or what areas we can address like less speeds in the future. We are also identifying the hotspots of fishing. This is a map created with the help of the fisher folks that uses gill nets. So we are calculating the time they are spending on each place. So from blue to red is the time that in average they are spending in some areas. And you can see that the southern part of the bay is covered in fishing areas for gill nets. And in the northern part, close to the Marietas Islands, there's also a lot of fishing activity. And this is very important because this data is super sensible and super valuable for fisher folks. So we are just sharing the information with them. They are the only ones who can see this data. And also, when we asked them about what happens if fisher folks try to avoid mantas when they fish, it could increasing the fuel use, increase the navigation time, reduce the fish catch maybe. So we asked them in a Likert scale way. 1 means strongly agree, and 5 means strongly disagree. And the main idea here is that the graphics that are outside of the red panel are indicating that the fisher folks doesn't think that they are going to increase their fuel use or navigation time, or even they're gonna see a reduction in fish catch if they follow guidelines to avoid mantas. But the graphics inside of the red square says that they don't really think that there will be a reduction of cost for their boats if they are going to follow these guidelines, or they doesn't think that their gillnets will be safer if they are following these guidelines. And this is important because with this information, we can now plan in ahead our workshops with them to address these subjects in particular. And we are sharing all this data with them in an interactive platform found online. They are the only ones who can access the most updated database and visualization. But if you want to check the first trial, you can scan the QR code in the screen and look it for yourself. It's quite intuitive, it's interactive, and it's also being created with help of the fishing leaders who are giving us ideas to make it more understandable for them. And now we are in the phase of engage with the stakeholders. We need to create these guidelines with them using workshops mostly. And this is being done slowly. Right now, we have had like one-to-one interviews with fishing leaders and community leaders, but we are planning to have the full workshops in the following months. And now after the elections are over, it will be easier for us to connect with the fisher folks and do these workshops. But until now, there are already some suggestions from them, from the community leaders. They think that the fishing vessels could like have a surveillance groups, community fishery surveillance groups, to assess the nets that are being placed on the coast. Also, they suggested to have seasons and areas to enforce fishing gear requirements. And for the water taxis, they suggested a sailor who works as a spotter during travel, designation of low-speed temporal areas, and change in daily schedules of water taxi departures and arrivals for the captains to not be in a hurry to arrive to the destination in less time. So with more time for them, they will have less. They will have less chance to go faster. And let me see. Okay, so in the future, this capstone plans to be a model for collaborative protection guidelines in other areas. This is an extract from a recent paper who assessed important areas of mantas worldwide. In Mexico, pointed by this black arrow, you can see Bahía de Banderas surrounded by this blue circle. That means that Bahía de Banderas is an important feeding area for the species. But we have other important areas, not just in Mexico, but in Central and South America, not just for Oceanic Manta rays, but for other species of mantas. So this capstone can work in other areas using the local data of them and also assessing their perceptions and involving the local people into these collaborative protection guidelines. And right now, the management outcomes until now, the important shark and ray areas group is a group of scientists from the IUCN, assessed the data from us, that we had of mantas, and now they proposed the southern part of the bay as an important zone for sharks and for mantas. And this is nice. This is not an official national designation, but it's putting more pressure to Mexico to create a management plan for the species in the future. And I just want to really say a big thanks to my faculty advisor, Ann Kapusinski, my co-advisor, Elena Finkbeiner, my mentor, Joshua Stewart, my partner organization, Proyecto Manta, Manta Trust, and the partners in Bahía de Banderas, the fisher folks from Yelapa, from Chimo, all these people, amazing people who work day by day fishing. They are also super worried about this issue, and they are working with us to make a better future for them and for the mantas. And that's all. Thank you very much.